explosive, breaking. Premier David Eby, British Columbia, goes the terrible distance, breaches every moral code of any political class of Canada, and calls upon treason for all of us who participated in going to DC. I think I was the first in summer to do that. Myself and Rob Tavoni. Albertans followed up later. I didn't join that cause, as I know international law and I know rules that are imposed on provinces and territories inside Canada. I took it at a federal level, but that does not diminish the rights of Canadians, all Canadians, to go to the American consulate, the government, any stage you want. I was welcomed in USA's hosting of NATO. I passed high security clearance checks because I have military and police clearance in Canada. I most certainly did get an audience inside the executive through the American people. I had my presentation delivered right to the president by hundreds of Americans. I did that. I went to the NATO summit in DC, walked right in, passed security clearance, went on through, participated, brought my security, my friend Rob Tavoni, a huge supporter. We did that, where we saw the truth of where Canada sits in NATO. A joke. Not my fault, not any Albertan's fault. And I'm going to say this. What Premier David Eby did is not only immoral, it's illegal. You can't call on Canadians through US-Canada treaties and enforce treason out to those people whom aren't even respected as people in Canada. It's a gross human rights violation that David Eby just did as the highest office-holding politician in the province of BC and the federal government. See, the dipstick David Eby doesn't even know his own customary crown laws or his own constitution. As a first minister of the prime minister, he doesn't even know that. He's never read Section 91 or understood it, because he's given away his Section 92 powers to the federal government, even in his reign, as all his previous first ministers of BC have done over and over. Just like every other province and territory, we are fused in this country, a very limited federalism. It's not real, not in the Crown customary law. I'm moving because I'm being zapped. It's not a bad weather day. It's what it is, folks. Let me get repositioned. If it goes bad, I'm just going to have to do a trip on my coffee break to give this delivery to you. Try right here. Hopefully, if it goes up again, it's because I'm being zapped, which is status quo in Canada's censorship lands. Folks, David Eby doesn't know Section 91 to 92 throughout 152 of our Constitutional Acts of Canada and the many multi-textual documents going all the way back to British North America that's infused in our Constitution of Canada. What he said, did, and called upon action against regular subjects in Canada, like myself and many Alberta separatists, was absolutely wrong and unconstitutional. More than that, even though there's no mechanism in Canada to hold him to account for his grievous statement today against all of us. There is international law and there's human rights laws against those with the power to call upon violence from Canadians to impose on other Canadians subjugated under his authority. His authority and the rest of the government of Canada's authority over all of us, whether we like it or not. There's human rights in place binding for politicians not to be able to do that. And they're held to account for that all the time throughout the world by the United Nations Security Council when they go too far. This is David Eby inciting violence. I'm very angry. I'm extremely angry at his statements. I'm seeing the uptick of crazy loons all over my feeds today. People trying to tag me, call me out, want to do violence. I have death threats all over the application to our statehood page. I get it all the time. I report them to the FBI. I do, especially when they're calling for the assassination or murder of Donald J. Trump, myself and others. Will the FBI do anything for me? No. But I certainly report these folks. What David Eby has done today, everybody, is added a pile of lunatics to a bunch of regular, everyday Canadians who have no ability to defend themselves. I'm going to explain something to you about every legislature and parliament in Canada. They all have their own police force, their security detail, their undercovers who protect them and their families. Do you know what none of us have? Any of that. Any of that. My children are defenseless. I'm virtually defenseless. All of those Alberta separatists and Alberta statehood folks are defenseless. And David Eby, with his power, his authority over so many thousands and thousands of Canadians, and it's already going viral, has basically told every Canadian lunatic who's in love with their crown that it's okay to murder these people. It's okay to smash their heads in with a hammer or stab them to death with a knife or do whatever you want to do to them because they're guilty of treason, according to Premier David Eby. Now who's the violent nut job now? It's David Eby. You don't like where Plamondon is with Quebec separatism. You don't like where Alberta's going with separatism. You, Ford, Smith, I know what you've been doing with Mark Carney. And a newsflash, so does the majority of the government of the United States, whether Republican or Democrat. They will never, ever treat Canada the same way ever again. In just 20 minutes, folks, in 20 minutes, Mark Carney's going to get up and tell you how he's going to be moving trade. Canada's overwhelming trade from the United States to Beijing and Mercosur, where wages far, far less than even Canada's wages. And in fact, the massive trade you have with the United States is because of your low wages in comparison to Americans on USD and their minimum standards of labor. You're about to find out that the transition you're going into is all for the first ministers of every province and absolutely the Prime Minister and all their wealthy elite families who have full autocratic control of this country financially and economically. And now they're prepared to trade off all of your wages for substandard third world wages in a northern Arctic climate. David Eby's on board, Danielle Smith's on board, Scott Moe's on board, Doug Ford's on board. Francois Legault flew the coop. We can go through Atlantic Canada entirely. As we know of yesterday, Susan Holtz entirely on board. They all are. I know they are. Your death at their vast expense. They don't care about subjects. And David Eby, who brags to the world like all these Canadian politicians, we're a safe, inclusive, non-violent country, just calls out Canadians exercising their rights denied to them in Canada, their rights to civil, cultural, and political aims. That is an international binding law, respected and enshrined in the United States of America, promised by your Canadian government, whether people like David Eby, who hold the highest office, have read it or not. You're bound to it, you miserable, dirty, sick, depraved human being who just called on for basically the murder of helpless and innocent Canadians exercising their rights in international law with our neighbor and supposed to be best friend, the United States of America, who has the power to enforce that, who speaks Webster's English, not Oxford, and maybe Canadians don't get that, but that is the only place you can go where you instantly, as a Canadian, when you travel to the United States and you go to a U.S. government or any state government or any municipal government, do you know what you learn? You know what I learned first thing at the highest offices of the United States, highest levels of military? Welcome, Mr. Bjorkman. While you're in the United States, you get all the privileges of an American citizen. That's how we treat everybody we allow into the United States to visit. You will get the perks of being an American citizen. Doesn't matter what I know, who I know, or how much money I have. That is how Americans deal with all foreigners. It's not reciprocated for Americans. But that's how they treat every guest in their country if they've allowed you to visit, if you have a passport initiated in the United States. That's how you're treated at the highest levels of government of the United States. Oh, you want to participate in this? Oh, you're willing to go through checks? Sure, just like any American citizen. In Canada, I go to Lieutenant Governor of Premier Daniel Smith's government because I had an idea. Before I got to this point, I had an idea that we should have provincial constitutions. Really, the federal government should be working on all their Section 91 commitments, including those to the countries like the United States, which they don't. They've got a whole other list that's found from Section 92, provincial jurisdiction, all the way to 152, provincial jurisdiction, depending on, of course, the provinces. Mass amounts of stuff that the federal government's running because corrupt first ministers turned that over since the inception of Canada and each and every amendment to make a province thereafter. And folks, this corruption, this evil, holds all of us apart. No. How dare you, I was told. How dare you approach this office? How dare you think you have a right as a subject in Canada to propose any ideas to this government? Get out! We won't even talk to you. You're nothing. You're garbage. You're not fit to lick our boots. That's what I got in Alberta. David Eby, no use for it either. And he was in office for that presentation. Get out of here. There'll be none of that. You are less than us. We're superior. Fascist. Superior in every way. Always have been. Always will. And we will kill you. That's his answer today. I will incite Canadians to kill you people. And it's a crime, but who's going to stop me? Who's going to hold me to account? Canada, the supposed non-violent place. There's no treason for any Canadian under current USA-Canada treaties in place to go speak to the American government on any topics of mutual interest. As I've said before, statehood has always been on the table in all of Canada's history and all of British North America's history. It is not treason. And for a premier to get on a soapbox and tell Albertans or any other Canadians, and I'm Albertan, yes, I went to Washington, D.C., yes, I'm one of those people. When you tell Canadians at large that we're criminals of the highest crime against the state, in a complete lie, completely inept of even our legal system in Canada, and certainly in violation of so many USA treaties with Canada and with UK over Canada, when you speak like that out of turn, and you tell the ignorant populace in majority that these people deserve your violence, they're treasonous. Even though that's not the definition, that's not even the law. And in fact, it's a high crime itself in international law. And in fact, everybody, I don't want to be jolted off where I'm at and where I'm going with things this week, but I'm going to have to respond to this. I'm going to have to file a petition with the United Nations Security Council, where I have full access and email to. As a Canadian subject, I most certainly do. And I will be writing this first act of violence from a government inside Canada against subjects for just following international law and exploring their rights under civil, political, and cultural rights enshrined by Canada and so many nations in the world. It's Premier David Eby who's going to be registered. It's going to be Premier David Eby, and I will be starting a signature drive right across Canada for all of you who will do that, and we will put that in with the United Nations Security Council. He is in gross violation. What he's doing and what he's done to these Albertans, myself included, and even those for Alberta statehood, whether they understand everything or not is not the point. It's their right to go and explore and talk to any government they wish, especially governments with treaties on these things with Canada. Canada's bound and enshrined. David Eby is a violent offender. We can't prosecute him. There's no police or crown prosecutor's office or justice system in Canada that can prosecute him. He is immune. He's immune, as is all premiers and absolutely all prime ministers. In fact, every elected and every appointed is immune. Because why? They appoint the people who appoint those people. It's all fused. It's all one. This is how it is being Canadian. This is the truth of it. And David Eby slipped big time, and he's going to pay for it in the international arena big time. This I swear to God, to all of you. Now, you can't respond violence with violence. This chapter I take from Martin Luther King. Non-violence. Do not respond to David Eby. Don't go down to his level. I will continue as you report people now threatening us. I know it's happening. It's on my feeds. I'm removing those comments. I'm removing those people in 51st State who are planted trolls, who lied about their Q&A to get on our page. I've been removing those over the last 24 hours, and I'm getting hit hard today. I approve every membership into the 51st State movement. I'm the one who every day, whether it's 50 to 80 a day generally, I'm the one who every 20th one, we're going to kill you. We're going to blah, blah, blah. You deserve to die. We're going to kill you and Donald J. Trump. I'm the one who goes through that every day. Nobody else. And now it's up at a whole nother level. And it is scary. It's wrong. And Americans who are watching this is somebody in a high office. Can you imagine an American governor calling for Americans to be killed, to be treated in treason. That's serious in the United States of America. You can't do that to American citizens, but in Canada, all bets are off. We are not citizens. We are not equal. We're in a class structure. And when that first class calls upon any crime against that lower class, all bets are off. There is no system for any Canadian to go into except for the United States on the world stage. And I have that email and I have that ability, and I most certainly will be utilizing it as of today. So hang on to your seats, folks. I know it's scary. I know this isn't good, and it's only going to get worse. I warned you all of this violence to come, but I'm telling you, revolution may eventually be the only path forward. We are not there right now, and we must take the Martin Luther King approach. Non-violence. We won't win. We will not win this. We are less than. We are like the segregated African Americans of that period up to the 60s. That is us. Always has been, always will be. And we must stand strong in non-violence, which means non-violent reactions, comments, or posting. Be vigilant, be strong. Wait for my rollout. I'll get to work on it tonight. God bless everybody. Share, share, share. Get the video out there. He's wrong. He's evil. He's the socialist fascist. Let the world see it. Let's present this in a united front. Let's crush this guy. God bless. Love you all. Bye now.